Okay, I'm gonna go forward a bit, and I'm gonna use one of my most recent notes, which is from today, rather than the one that we are trying to catch up on, and what page we're on here, because I want to get it out of my head. So let's think of, I don't have circles here, but let's think of this as a Venn diagram, and this is a group of people with a certain trait, and this is going to be a group of people with another trait, and the overlap of these two groups is going to look something like this. As you can see, the smaller one is almost entirely in the big one. Now, what are these two traits? Okay, let's say the little one is the trait of people who believe that the world is overpopulated and that we should work to have a smaller population in the future. The bigger group is the number of people who feel lonely. Now I want you to think about it. The majority of a large majority of the people who believe that the world is experiencing overpopulation also experiences loneliness and feels lonely in life. Yes. Why? It's amazing, isn't it? I love this correlation. Anyways, I think it's funny. It's like, do you believe that the world is overpopulated? Yes? Then why the fuck you lonely? It's like, choose one. Okay. Now let's be serious. Okay. Okay, so this one is about Federal Reserve Banking. I'm sure you know what it is by now, but I did mention it before, and it's basically about how banks can lend out 90%, like X percent, and the example is 90%. It's probably varies from like 70 to 90% depending on where you are or something. I don't know, but the example is 90%. So so they can lend out or invest up to 90% of deposits held, which means if there are 10 people who invested $100,000 into a bank, the bank can loan out $900,000 and then just only have $100,000 there. So if you were to go and try to withdraw $110,000, they would be like, sorry, we can't do that. And so basically the way this, like, there's a lot of implications to this, right? And I don't think it's necessarily even a bad thing either. But when you think about it, it just means that, like, you can spend way more. Here's the other thing. So let's say you have person A deposit $10,000 in the bank, and then person B loans out $9,000 to, say, let's say, buy a car, plus his, or like put down a mortgage or whatever, or like he sets up a payment plan where the bank helps him buy the thing and then he pays it off to the bank, and then the person who got say the $10,000 now puts that $10,000 back in, and they can put out another 90% of this money that just came back to them. So it's like you deposited $10,000, the bank loans out $9,000, they deposit, say, maybe let's say $9,000, and then the bank can just loan out $8,100. So now you have someone who owes the bank $9,000 and someone who received $9,000, and the bank is holding onto $1,900, let's say, and then they've loaned out $8,100 to someone else. It's like there's all of this floating money being spent that doesn't actually exist, which I guess is I don't actually know how all of this works. It's very confusing when you think about it. It's like there's so much invisible money that just starts to, like, that, like, it's so confusing. I really don't understand it. But I mean, like, also it kind of makes sense though, like, because the more people spend money, the more the money the banks make, and the more taxes the government makes. So it's like, why wouldn't they do it? But then there's like, I don't know, it's just so hard to actually track the money, because you would think that that money is like this. It is like this, like, let's say every dollar has like a tag to it, so it's like you can see this finite amount of money, and this money can just move places. But then you see that there's like all of this. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I mean, they can track every dollar basically, but also it's like the same money can be spent multiple times while you own the money. Like, technically you own this money that's in the bank. It's supposed to be yours, but everybody else is. It's like your wife, you going out on a trip for a year, and she's running a train on her, and then by the time you take, she comes back, she's been through 1,000 men. Obviously that's a horrible analogy, but you kind of get what I mean. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it this way, because when you're not spending the money, other people are spending the money, and it's moving around until you withdraw it. Okay. In regards to the video I posted, I guess a couple of days ago, it's fine if you're to optimize and try to improve. Actually, it's very good to try to improve and optimize, as long as the lack of optimization doesn't cause you stress. Because I don't remember where I heard this, but perfectionism isn't this upholding a standard of quality. It's actually out of fear for imperfection rather than striving for perfection a lot of the times. So, like, obviously there's two ways to look at perfectionism, but like when it's, you feel like you can't even like if you feel like you don't want to set these deadlines because you just never feel satisfied, a lot of the time, if you dig down deep enough, it's more so the procrastination, avoidance, and fear that you will be represented by anything that is only at the level of quality that you create, rather than something that can go beyond what you can actually create, because you don't feel that something that you can make in the reasonable amount of time would be good enough. Now, obviously there's a lot of cases where you just keep improving it and iterate, and that's where it should be. But if the idea that it would be anything less than perfect makes you horrified, there's probably something wrong with your attitude and approach. And also will have negative effects. Okay, so this one is more talking about your brain and its chemicals. This was a different book. It's called Habits of a Happy Brain. So it first of all, it starts off with talking about the basic framework of how the brain works. It gives your brain makes you feel bad, so to make you avoid things. Your brain makes you feel good to make you move towards things. And the happy chemicals are all for survival. And the dopamine builds habits. So as you receive dopamine, it'll build the habits, and then as time goes on, the dopamine will fade, but the habits are in place, right? So it's like, originally you did it to get the dopamine again, and eventually you do it because you've built the habit. So that's why a lot of the time you'll end up like scrolling social media, and then eventually going, wait a minute, why am I doing this? I don't feel anything for like the past 30 minutes. I've just wasted all my time. Or maybe that's just because I have ADHD. I don't know. So also it builds neural pathways, which it gave the example of saying the reason we don't like change or building new habits is because our old habits are like paved highways, and building new habits are like trying to hack through the jungle. Other thing it mentions is that the as you grow up, it's more difficult to go through build new pathways, because when you're small, the jungles don't really exist. It's like a empty land. But as you grow up and you pave the highways, all of the land you didn't pave highways on have started growing weeds, trees, jungles, etc. So now you have to go and to build new habits, you have to actually hack down these trees. Whereas when you were small, you could just go wherever you wanted, and then those eventually became the highways, or something like that. It's very interesting to think of it this way. Okay. What the fuck did I write? Okay, so a rat. I compared while I was writing notes on this. I compared a rat pressing a button that stimulates dopamine in it to scrolling social media. So yes, social media is the button that the rat that we press that just it used to inject dopamine, and it has created that habit. And the rat is the comparison to the rat. But the difference is that for the rat, it continues to give dopamine, but for us now it's just a habit. Okay, let me see. Our limbic system doesn't use words. Okay. Yeah, so our limbic system gives us feelings, but it doesn't explain it in words. For example, if you yell, "I'm not mad," a lot of the time you are. And it's because your limbic system doesn't say you're mad or "I'm mad." It just gives you this stimulation in your body that triggers the symptoms of being mad, and then you become mad. Okay, what's next? Cortisol. Ah, yes, when you're upset, when you have negative feelings, when you're stressed. What did I write? It's because that's your body saying that it has to feel worse than the good feeling you have of not taking action. So, for example, there's a saying about the region beta paradox that Chris rephrases it as, or actually he might be quoting someone. I'm not actually sure, but I think he's definitely quoting someone. I just can't remember who he's quoting. But it goes as, change is when you change when the pain of change. You take action when the pain of change becomes greater than the pain. Wait, no. You take action when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing. Which is essentially what the region beta paradox is. But yeah, so that's the purpose of cortisol. So we don't want to change, right? So cortisol is to say, listen, staying the same is worse than change. And then that's when you take action. And the example in the story is when a deer is happily eating grass and it smells a lion, then it's going to get up and run. Because if it doesn't and it stays the same, it continues enjoying the grass, then it's going to get eaten. So the cortisol has to make the event worse than the pain of stopping what you're doing, getting up and running, right? So basically it's like, if you continue to do what you do happily, if you continue doing what you're doing but feel the pain of cortisol, this experience is worse than getting up, doing the work, making change, running, whatever it is that you have to do, whatever it is that you don't want to do. So it's like these two things: doing something you want while feeling bad versus doing things you don't want while not feeling the cortisol. So it's meant to make this one better than this one. You can think of it like a scale, right? It's meant to be so heavy on the feel bad system, which is again why if you're depressed you have to that's your body telling you to change your life. Okay. Hunger. Yes. Okay. So hunger is the pain of. I don't know. What the fuck? Yes. I mean, hunger is the pain of sitting there, of getting up and getting food, is less painful than sitting there and being hungry. That is the point of hunger. Anticipation of pain. Okay. So cortisol is the anticipation of pain. When you're stressed, you're anxious, you feel something bad's going to happen, you feel that things are going to be bad, that is you anticipating future pain. And so your body says this is going to suck, so it makes it feel so bad now that you'll actually take action to avoid the future pain. Also, the feeling of alarm can, oh my god, this one, okay, this is actually my favorite part of this section of the book, where it says that this is a feeling of alarm, and in the modern world we can distract ourselves from the feeling of alarm, such as, for example, let's say we feel that something's going on in the office. This is the example they used in the book, and maybe we feel like the boss seems stressed, maybe we didn't hit our measures, our goal, targets this quarter or something, and then looking at the way our boss acts, we're worried that there will be layoffs, and so we're stressed and we don't know what to do, but we eat a donut, and eating the donut gives us the distraction from the stress, so we feel like the stress is gone, maybe get some dopamine, and then that temporarily makes it go away, so we feel like it solves our problem. So every time we feel that stress, we go and eat a donut, but it doesn't actually solve the problem. And in the long term, we have the habit of eating donuts, we have the habit of feeling that the problem isn't solved, and in the end, we just feel bad inside. But it's like distractions can also cause stress, because then we also, in the long term, we're stressed about the fact that we always just eat donuts and do nothing. Okay. Failing plan A triggers cortisol. Oh. Yeah, okay, so when the first thing you try doesn't work, that can make you want to run away. And it can make you want to seek distractions. It makes you worried that things won't work out. It makes you look for new solutions too. Obviously, well, that's the point of the cortisol. And it makes you worried about plan B not working, and you start brainstorming, I suppose, something like that. Next is happy chemicals don't last, while negative feelings do last. So when you get a burst of happy chemicals, most of them don't actually last over a long period of time. Whereas negativity can ease. Okay. So the example is, because there's signals that something good happened, whereas we need to look for the next signal. Whereas if we continue feeling good and not, the feeling of negativity is meant to be a feeling of problem solving, and that in the times of survival, it was feel bad, solve the problem, feel good after the problem is solved, feel bad, solve a new problem, and etc. But nowadays it's very different. You can always find problems if you look in the wrong places, and then you can get the good feeling from things that aren't your problems being solved in the modern world. And it's like you can be stressed about, like before they were stressed about not dying and having enough food, right? Or water or whatever. And nowadays, I mean, you can think about all the different things. It's like there's like your grades, your tests, your job applications, your qualifications, your what other people think of you, what you're gonna do next, what chores you may have done or not done, brushing your teeth, maybe folding your clothes, doing. I mean, these are the chores, obviously. Your deadlines, your appointments, maybe you're picking up your kids or whatever, and what your boss is texting you, what things come up, whatever. It's like all these random things that don't have as much individual impact, but causes us just as much stress to our survival brains. Okay. The other thing is the illusion of time that comes with negative chemicals. For example, when you have negative feelings, it also comes with the feeling that it will last forever. I'll give you an example. When you're angry, have you ever been angry at someone doing something to you with the thought in mind that, oh yeah, it's this anger will just go away in 30 seconds. It's whatever. Have you ever thought that? No, you're focused on what he's done, the fact that this action of his can only be reversed by him, I suppose, something like that. And that there is no justice to be done until you do something to him, perhaps, as an example. But it's a very fixated focus on what's wrong, and there's no understanding that, oh yeah, it's gonna go away. So it feels permanent. Or maybe your life is going down and you have the feeling that this is like something has to change, or else this is going to be the way it is forever. And rather than saying these things are going to be changed by me, so that's why this is not going to go on forever, or this is going to go away in a few months or something like that, right? It's like, so, and whereas when you're happy, have you ever thought, oh yeah, this happiness will last forever? Like if let's say you win a game, or let's say you beat somebody in a competition of some form. No, you're like, oh yeah, that felt good, and then now we do whatever we're gonna do next. Okay. Maybe happiness is deciding that some things in your life don't qualify for cortisol, or at least an element of happiness. If you have things that give you stress and you just go, maybe this aspect of my life doesn't actually warrant stress. I'll keep it in my life, but I'm not going to stress over it. Maybe. Okay. Use imagined worlds to make cortisol go away or get happy chemicals, like video games or novels. Wait, no, I'm not. This isn't a suggestion. This was just an explanation of something that we do. I'm not too sure what to say about this topic, but it was something that they mentioned. We can distract ourselves from the problems and make the cortisol go away by taking bring our brain to a new world where these problems don't exist. Okay. It was talking about how all of these chemicals are related to reproduction as well, because obviously without reproduction we don't natural selection kicks in and it doesn't get passed on. So the traits that end up working with natural selection. Okay. Dopamine is the chase. Why almost getting something can be better than the thing itself. Maybe, so my note here is maybe this is why having a cake, in the saying, you can't have a cake and eat it too, feels good. The idea that you would want to have a cake and eat it is because having the cake is the idea that you can eat the cake whenever you want, which is like the almost reward kind of system of dopamine. The chase feels good. When you feel the signal that you're getting closer to the reward. Actually, I didn't actually write this in the context of reproductive system. It was just talking about, it was giving examples in regards to reproduction. I didn't actually write it down in this context. Oxytocin, all I wrote down is that they called it the cuddle hormone and the bonding chemical. So you get oxytocin from things like hugs, kisses, cuddling, whatever, I suppose. I'm not. You get oxytocin from other stuff too. But this was the context in which they brought it up. I don't know that much about oxytocin. But this is what the book was mentioned in. Serotonin is the status chemical, or where you want to chase status, which is studied in it's basically an inevitable characteristic because status is equivalent to resources, and resources are resources because individuals of the hierarchy want those resources, and where there is competition, there will be a hierarchy. Value is determined by whether or not others want it. So as long as there are things that are mutually desired by members of a group, there will be competition, and where there's competition, there will be status. Which is why it's always going to be desired. So serotonin is the status chemical. You desire status because you know that it will make you feel good because of serotonin. Interacting with someone of high status makes you feel good because of serotonin. Pursuit of status, feeling important, and all of this is incentivized by serotonin. And here my notes here actually come to mobile games. So maybe this is why you have whales who will spend an exorbitant amount of money on very stupid games. And also, my other note about mobile games are the ads. Have you ever seen those ads where the game is absurdly easy? Where it's not what the actual gameplay is. But the way the ad is presented is meant to make you think, that's so fucking easy, I could do that. It's like when if you ever seen one of those things, like I don't know, like a Facebook post from like 10 years ago, as you're scrolling, if you were scrolling, or on social media, where it goes 99% of people will fail this puzzle, and it's something super simple. I think maybe the clickbaitability of these things are maybe derived from serotonin. Or at least that was just my conjecture after listening to this section of the book. Anyways, endorphins is the chemical that makes pain feel good, and cortisol is the fear and feel bad chemical to help you avoid things. Actually, the context in which it associated cortisol was that it helps you associate your old lover with negative things to help you move on. What the fuck did I write here? Anyways, so yeah, when you, for example, when you break up and you start shit talking them, that's the cortisol and negative association to basically say, yeah, it's a good thing that this happened. Wait a minute. Wait, that's just copium. Wait, that means cortisol equals copium. So coping mechanisms are just done by cortisol? Fascinating. Very fascinating. I just realized that. That's interesting. Nowadays, the things that trigger these chemicals gets views or download and results because they trigger mechanics in your brain that make you react. And so when you react, the algorithm goes, oh, they reacted, that's good, plus value, reward this behavior. And then the content creators go, oh, this behavior is being rewarded, make more stuff that gets these reactions, and you get the natural selection. Whereas if they make stuff that don't follow these traits, they don't get reactions, the algorithm doesn't reward it, and they go, okay, so these things are bad. So they iterate on things that get rewards from the algorithm, and the algorithm rewards things that get clicks, and clicks are easiest to get if they trigger these mechanisms in our brain, the chemicals. When you see something and you get a chemical reaction, when you listen to something and you get a chemical reaction, that induces clicks. that gets rewarded by the algorithm. And then so that tells content creators to make more of it. You experience ups and downs from the algorithm as you so you listen to things that make you feel good, you make you feel things that make you feel like you have status, you see things that make you feel like you feel better, you see things that make you upset, you see things that make you angry, and your life experiences all of these up and downs, but your life doesn't get any better throughout the process. This is why video game population is gender disproportionate is actually a note that I wrote down. And I think the correlation here is because women are less inclined to be motivated by this kind of serotonin and I guess, yeah, and dopamine, because men are more geared towards chasing dopamine goals and rewards, so it's as well as serotonin, logically speaking. This is an assumption I'm making. The book didn't actually say that. I'm assuming this is true, and so I wrote the theory that maybe this is why the population of things like video games and ones that trigger these reactions are less geared to have less female what's the word representation. Anyways, that'll be it for today. I'm gonna just write down the date for where I start tomorrow. All right.